Hey, welcome back. We had just finished Don't Sweat It when we're about to start Armageddon Games, which is the final level.
This level has one unique song that you made for it, right, Irons?
Yeah. I think other than the one for the trailer, it was the last one I made as well, but it's the one called Tainted Source. And I think, except for that one for Survival, this is the only track that plays like in one level only. Um, and so the Survival one, I guess, could play in any Survival level, so that doesn't even count. But yeah, I wanted it to sort of, yeah, I wanted it to have a just a. I think Work was the one who talked about this to me when he was doing some of the final testing, but he really noticed that there was this unique track in the repertoire, and I think it really like lends an air of urgency, and it kind of lets you know, yeah, this is special here.
Yeah, I think it really works when it does play at the start of this level, or any point during it. It works well because you haven't heard it at all before.
Yeah, I really liked having something new like that at the very end of the game.
Yeah, I figured it would be nice to not feel like you'd seen or heard, in this case, everything before. And then there's, from what I remember, there's also When the Ground Moves, which is from the first level. And I don't remember the other one, but they're all. Oh, I think it's Apple Arrivals, maybe. They're all. Those are like sort of the theme tracks in my mind for the
Yeah,
whole scenario. So it all ties up here.
So I like
they
starting out by going this C, like the annotations are labeled A through C, I think. I go this way first, and I'll explain why when I get there.
yeah, this map gives you a lot of options when you start. Um, I wanted it to be something that you could take a couple different routes on a couple different replays and be a little more open than maybe the last map was, like Sweat It, where you're kind of constrained to a couple different specific paths. It's also the only map that doesn't have any sort of off-grid um, shenanigans going on because you don't see any um, any ground or you're not in any cave sections. So this is just all completely built by the Yarrow. So this map kind of stands apart from the rest of them in that sense too.
All right, I know why you go this way first. I always forget what's over on that body.
I guess we'll see here in a minute. This is I'm really happy with how this section turned out. You kind of have to open up these three different areas, and that leads you through this corridor where you get the last key of the game. Actually, these are if it's not obvious, those are nods to the first level of Infinity. That little I don't know, I don't know what it even is, like an access tunnel or something
Right.
in Infinity, but yeah.
Yeah, you can open up a bunch of them. I think only a couple have actually something worthwhile. Okay,
Yeah.
so here's like a weird thing. This is another one of those things where I think a lot of people are finding it, but it's just like something you can talk to. It kind of looks like if you're using the Fury and you kill a compiler, it leaves behind these kinds of things briefly, so that's kind of what we were going for there. So yeah, you can actually talk to this. And you wrote this one, right?
Yeah. Yeah, this is the reveal that that the humans have taken some Svit to experiment on, because in the story, they're having issues kind of getting this ancient Yarrow technology to work with humans, and to kind of integrate them, and in humans. So so they capture some Svit, uh, and that of course throws the Alliance into peril if the Svit were to find out. So that's one of the reasons that Sullivan is so set on the four not overtaking Astoria, and it's kind of intended to be, one of the reasons that he's willing to blow the whole place up despite the concerns of some other people, you know. And so that Svit, you get this information from a couple other bodies, but that Svit's, just direct confirmation that this is going on.
Took a while before I remembered that these guys showed up here. It's really bad. Always get incinerated.
I'm kind of confused. I killed these guys using a Fury, but I don't see any gore or anything. What happened there? Alright, so here's this body we were talking about a minute ago in this canvas bag. So this is why I like taking this route first. It just lets you carry more spells throughout the rest of the game, and for most of this level, you do it first. Which is nice, because you need it for this room. You really stock up on stuff here.
These were
And
supposed
generally
to,
it doubles it, right?
Yeah, I think pretty much doubles.
this was kind of intended to be like the room where these spells are created or produced or whatever in those little chambers. It was a really annoying room to texture, though.
Let's see, I missed something, didn't I? Or did I just
And
take...
it's the key.
Yeah. Looking for there must have been a switch or something. Blue, let's see.
There's that one that's the...
Oh, yeah. It's just to your
this
right.
here.
Yep.
Okay. Here's our second key that you can actually see without looting off of a body.
And it's got, like, gibberish on it, right? I remember... So that was an AI-generated thing, at least initially, wasn't it?
Yeah. I can't remember. I may have used the Svit keycard from the vanilla game and then just had AI do something with it. And yeah, it added some gibberish there. And I think it's got a barcode that who knows what that would be.
We should have put like a QR code on there that led to something real. That's all the buzz these days.
Yeah, so these are the choices you're talking about. Like, so now I don't know, doesn't really matter. You basically just pick these three locations.
I would go into path B maybe.
Okay.
Because then you can still see that big area flooded.
Yeah, I don't know. These
Interesting.
cyborgs don't have any gore or something. This guy did. I don't know. I never really noticed that before. So this the... Oh no. So it's a major juggernaut, but I guess we've seen one before.
The statefulness of this level was, I think, a really good example of some of the tricky stuff about persisting state between levels. It was... You guys must have taken care of most of this stuff probably before I ever saw anything, but this level, when I was testing it out, there were some weird issues with, like, what was it, the lava wouldn't go down or something, because if you left the level before you did certain stuff, it just broke. Like, I couldn't proceed the first time I played it.
Yeah, it's like basically, you know, that goo out there. I don't know. You can drain that in the other path, but that draining takes a little bit of time, and so when you return to the level has to complete that action again. So then it was like you could get to one of the doors that led to that area before it fully drained, right?
Oh, there was that, but then there was, like, remember, so I went ABC in that one room. I started with A, and I couldn't get I think I could not, either the switch wouldn't toggle or the goo wouldn't go down or something like that, and so I was stuck basically from the outset. And it was because I had left the level about 10 seconds after I first entered it, and it
that's right. That switch too, that I had a couple different problems with that switch. That was a pain in the ass.
That might have been, was that the one where you decided to not let shotgun toggle switches anymore?
Yep. Well, that's, I think, when we found the issue out, but there's a couple other switches that were prone to the same problem. So this here, you know, this is another nod to Infinity's first level.
Yeah, I liked this.
And I just figured, oh, I guess we're at the secret if you want to show it.
Yeah, I guess I'll show the secret now so I don't have to come back. There's only the one. It's just jumping through this. You can kind of see the this light texture kind of shows you where to go. And I don't know if it's...
That's the only secret on this level, because there's already a lot of items in general. So it's kind of like the first map in that sense. What were we going to say?
I think that one was really easy for me to find, and I don't know if it's just because I had gotten used to your type of secrets by then, or if it's just easier to find, but...
That's another...
It had a texture at first, did it?
Nope. Yeah, that's another example of something you had known about previously as just a regular part of the map, but then I made it into a secret, so it was probably pretty... I'm guessing you just noticed that difference or something.
I actually can't remember anything being there before. So I wonder if I just never noticed.
Yeah, maybe.
Because it did seem like... It seemed like a brand new thing to me when I found that secret, so I don't know exactly the details, but... What used to be there? Like, was it just a...
It was just... I only added a texture that you could jump through, a transparent texture. That whole
was a dark niche
area was
so you could miss it pretty easily because it was dark, but it was not covered originally.
Yeah, I think I just missed it then.
Yeah.
I like these, so those super fighters, if you don't notice them, which probably a lot of players the first time through might go in there well after they've run out of it, but they will come up and get you. Like, that's just a really good sneak attack.
Yeah, so if you take the first route, path A, then you drain all of this goo, and so you can play this path without seeing any of that. And that's one variation that I think is kind of cool.
Yeah, this map's fun to do in different orders, because things look very different in some cases.
The goo was that texture is new, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I forget exactly what we did to make it. I think it went through a few iterations. But
It did. I remember. So actually, it's partly the juice texture. Actually, you can kind of see.
oh yeah, the swirly part.
Yeah, yeah. We
Oh yeah.
incorporated the juice texture a little bit from Huge, but it was. I think it started off as a variation of just the green colored, just a green colored version of the 4 goo from Infinity, and then yeah, I think we started messing with it, and we might have put it through AI once or twice. This room is something that actually Work had in his mind that I thought was a really cool concept. And I remember you had described this to me before I made, I think, any of the levels at all. So I held on to the idea until the very end. And this is another example where you really, really need to use your spells.
I died here so much. I was on probably like 8 or 10 health.
Yeah, and I think when I initially had this in my mind, we also had a cloak type spell that doesn't exist in the game anymore. But it would, the idea was it would stop projectiles from seeking. So you would have to hit that to, like, because I always pictured you dropping into some hole or something like that where you'd just be surrounded by these red defenders with like no hope of survival unless you used specific spells. So I was thinking like you'd use the cloak to make them so you don't, they can't seek and hit you that way, and then on top of that reflect. But yeah, the cloak wasn't an interesting enough spell to keep around. That was just kind of, that was one of the ones. There also used to be, I guess since I'm talking about it, there used to be like a camera, like a security camera type ability where I could like point at this wall and then set up a cam, like cast it at this wall, and then you'd have a camera from that location where you could look around.
Oh, that's like AORPG.
Yeah, I think that's probably partly where I got the idea from. And it would be like, okay, I want to see what's in this room. I want to like scope it out before I go just rushing in here kind of thing. But I don't know. I think we just had better things to do or better ideas and didn't end up putting that in because it was like, well, it's kind of useful, but for the most part, you can just you don't really need to get advanced warning on the rooms too much, so there are just better ideas.
Yeah, I think was the laser the last spell that you implemented?
Um,
I can't remember if it was. I almost think it was.
yeah, either that or the frozen orb.
Oh no, yeah, I think it was. I think you're right. Frozen Orb came after Laser, but those both came after I had started working on the project too.
Right. I forget when I did reflect. That might have been one of the later ones too. Let's see, was there a save right here? Forget where I'm going now.
Oh no, there's a save.
No, you can't.
A little bit,
That's
just
down
right
the hallway.
down the hall. Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay, I knew there was one somewhere around here.
Man.
Eddie's last try.
Okay, now this is the area that had been flooded with goo, right?
Yep.
And so earlier on in the level, I guess I was walking up there.
Yeah.
So yeah, when you saw the whole like goo area, and I think yeah, this is where I was fighting the Juggernaut. So it's
Yeah.
kind of cool. You could drain this first, and then when you fight that Juggernaut, this area would already be drained. So that's kind of some interesting stuff. Oops, I kind of. Oh, actually,
Nice.
It kept going. I thought I had wasted that chain burst, but wow, it went far.
Yeah, it can be really effective right here. That Juggernaut fight with the Juggernaut right above the goo, that whole sequence I had kind of been inspired by All Roads Lead to Seoul on, and I really loved the fights over these large pools of lava. It stood out, all roads lead to Seoul. I don't know exactly what my feelings are on that map because it's a really fun level, and I think it stands out. It sets itself apart significantly from the other maps in Marathon 2. But it's also, I think, really easy besides that very last room. So it's like I enjoy it, but it doesn't present too much of a challenge to me. But yeah, that whole section was kind of inspired there.
This was kind of there's a fun backstory with this guy.
I like it too because I guess he had to have been cut in half before he was put on that elevator.
Yeah, I
I don't really
guess.
know how he could have been severed in half while he was being crushed, but I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe it's shaped funny. For some reason, I miss this black hole sometimes. I like just come in here. These things distract
did I.
me. But I guess I seem to be full anyway. This level you get super stocked up on spells because you start to need them. Okay, so this is open now. Oh, hello. I guess actually I'll use one of these since I'm full. Oh man. Alright, well,
Wow.
my frame rate was struggling there a little bit. I think because I'm both streaming to Discord right now and recording this with OBS, so all of this stuff combined starts to slow my computer down just a little bit. Oh, hello. Yeah, that's I need to that's one thing I want to change in a future update if we do one is black holes. I think I'm just going to have it delete the bodies completely rather than shove them all over the place cuz the hunters specifically are annoying when they get thrown at you and then blow up in your face when you're not expecting it cuz you just, you just killed everything with a black hole, so you're not really your guard's down. You're not really expecting to avoid death explosions and stuff like that. So I want to change that.
We might see a very specific case later where the acceleration from that is also so great that the hunter just, you know, is in several places at once, basically. So actually, it can be impossible to even predict that it's going to happen. Yeah, I think probably died 5 to 10 times at that one place from that one hunter being thrown at me by a black hole.
So now we're back here, which we've already been to, but this door's open now.
I think I saw a comment on one of the previous videos about asking if paths open up as you go so that you can navigate a map more easily, like once you've explored everything. And that's a case of that right there, that platform that Orc just checked out. And there's a lot of that all over the whole game. I tried to set it up so that once you're done exploring an area, you don't have to go through all. You can activate a platform or open a door that allows you to transgress the map a lot faster, traverse it.
Right. And so that jumping down this hole is kind of like a point of no return for the moment.
The overhead map indicates that as well. Now a different section. Even though I don't think there's any overlap, I felt like it was a good idea to add that,
Yeah.
so you would definitely feel something different was going on.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever actually opened my map in this spot before. It's kind of a neat detail.
So this is the lowest, supposed to be the lowest area in the whole game, lowest level. You've reached Sentinel and the heart of the Yarrow base, so to speak.
All right, we'll see if the you had trouble with the black hole and this guy coming up, didn't you? Work after I did.
I've seen it before, I think, once.
Okay. I eventually learned to aim in a different place and do a little better, but there's an enemy who's going to come out of that door, and it seemed the first few times I tried to use a black hole on it, it just seemed like nothing. Like I couldn't kill him with it. he was immune.
Yeah, and you're not the only person that said that. So one thing is you need a line of sight. So if you mess up and like, if you try to put a black hole in this area but I'm pointing like at this wall, then it'll be put here, and then
Yeah, the rays,
like this,
so to speak, won't.
anything behind that pillar won't work. But I don't think that's
Yeah.
necessarily what's always the case. But yeah, so this
I
guy.
think some of it was that ceiling ledge, like that height difference. Yeah.
Oh, that could be, yeah, if you... So yeah, that...
Time it right.
Oh, I should have gone back. I don't think I ever actually went back for that black hole that I couldn't pick up. Oh well.
So this is the last new area that you see, basically. This whole room, and this is kind of the last big new battle in a new area, which you'll see what I mean there, I guess, in a couple minutes. But the shape of this room was kind of necessitated by that flame ead. Like initially, I kind of wanted something a little less symmetrical, a little less square, but given everything that this room does, I kind of felt like this was just the best layout for everything that you encounter.
Yeah, it works out pretty well. I love when the missiles so slow they kind of stack up. Whoa.
I kind of wasted that. Well, I was trying to hit something else. That's just one of the things you get with this game, is sometimes it's in the middle of battle, it's hard to pick the exact right spell you want. But there's so many that wasting one just doesn't really matter. Alright, so now we've got kind of these slow moving or revealing stairs. I guess you made them slow so you can't just like run past this whole battle, right?
Yeah.
Speedrunners are gonna hate you.
That's also why I added the tiny doors in front of the switches, so that you couldn't like fusion them.
So I think this is the conclusion of the Merak story, right?
Yeah. Yeah, this is the conclusion of that storyline and the last terminal that you see. And we find out here that they escape Istoria with the help of seems to be some sort of Yarrow that they've brought back. And yeah, we don't I don't know if we'll find out what happens to them later, but yeah, they seem to have made it off Astoria.
Yeah, and there's kind of like a... It's not explicitly said, but we know that the Yarrow, we're assuming it's a Yarrow that freed them. He just goes off into the stars to go do something mysterious. And this happened roughly 1,000-ish years ago.
Yeah, 1,000 years before Astoria, around 1,000 years. Yeah, so
That's
I don't know,
interesting.
You can kind of read. Yeah, you can kind of read into the timeline, perhaps.
Oh, and I didn't do the Wazerman, whatever his name is, body. I forgot to go talk to him.
Ah, that's right.
He was the guy cut in half
Yes.
for those watching.
Yeah, go talk to him. In your playthrough, you want to go talk to that guy.
Yeah,
got a lot
and
of
shout out to the person who left the comment about that. You know who you are.
Alright, so I wonder who this guy is. Ah, finally get to meet this guy. He's got a lot to say. I'm sure I'm not going to get to all of it, but... So, we have like a dual, or like two different possible endings to this game. There's like a good ending and a bad ending. And we wanted to have the good ending be a little bit less obvious, and you actually get rewarded for talking to these guys. So this is the guy specifically that tells you how to get the good ending. And we put him like right at the end here just to not make it a huge pain. Because we had kind of briefly played around with the idea of making it a lot less obvious or something. I don't know. This guy's body was in a different place at one point.
Yeah, his body was in a different place, and then he's mentioning an uplink chip. That uplink chip was actually where the final key is now. But we figured that if you weren't following Grindel's advice to activate Sentinel's defenses, which is what he's telling you to do, rather than blow the place up like Sullivan wants you to do, if you're not following his ideas, that uplink chip is just kind of random and it doesn't make sense. So you only get the uplink chip if you do what he says, and it's kind of a Waterloo water park type situation where the uplink chip is right in front of the interface, but it just seemed to make the most sense to us.
And so this guy, I don't know if you've noticed his name, kind of familiar, Ed Grindel. Doesn't he have some kind of secret words here?
He has a preferred mode of transportation.
Yeah, I forget. Is it him? I don't know. I forget. I forget. Wasn't there someone that responded to something similar to that?
I think.
Emily does Bike and Eddie.
Try Bikegeist maybe. Yeah.
Man, he's just coming out, no regrets.
All right, so if you listen to this guy, he's telling you to lower these control or whatever they're called. What did we call them?
They're just control rods.
So you can either lower them all into the liquid or raise them all out of the liquid. So raising them out causes it to overheat, and then that'll cause the whole base and most of this planet to blow up.
It's highly accurate, yes, to what would happen in real life.
Yeah,
and then the idea is if you put them all in, then that allows Sentinel to like activate to its full potential, so to speak. So I don't know if I ever explicitly explained that, but that was kind of my thinking.
Okay.
This was another place where state. So I talked about that when I first started playing this level the first time, I had trouble because of the state stuff, and then when I got to this part, I was ready to go. Like I was amped up, and the switches didn't work. So I was like, did I miss something, guys? Like I had to ask them, and finally I just used Lua console to toggle the switches.
Right. Yeah, there was definitely some extra work here because this thing here where we say the chip and the place to insert it, this wouldn't be open unless I had it depends on whether you lowered them all or raised them all. If I raised them all, this would be open. So yeah, getting all that working properly and with the saved state of the level was definitely a bit of a challenge.
And you used to be able to, at this point, before you got a chip and inserted it, you could actually keep going and go up the elevator and walk around the rest of the level and leave it. Get items, do whatever you wanted for as long as you wanted. So because of some of that, and I think also just because that got rid of the tension, you made it so that it wasn't possible anymore, right, Windbreaker?
Yeah, you're boxed in to this room until you activate one of the two choices you have. So this room right here is supposed to be Sentinel's core or whatever. These are, I guess, like its processors maybe. That texture that you're kind of looking at there, with that square or that rectangular light, that's something that we used AI to modify an original texture. And this is something I only use in this room too, to kind of make it stand out as like the final area before you begin this end game sequence.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, whether you're blowing the place up or activating Sentinel and all the defenses, it's not a suicide mission, right? They both, whether it's Sullivan or Ed Grindle, whether you're either way, they're telling you should get back to your ship because you have a chance of surviving. So that's what this is about to trigger, is this sequence where we have to run all the way back to our ship. And this is another thing. I think we had wanted this from the beginning. It's kind of like a nod to Pathways into Darkness' ending, where you have to plant the bomb and then run all the way back. So yeah, that's partly a large part of why we have the level state in this game, because now we're going to revisit all the levels. Their states have to be preserved, but new monsters and stuff are going to be there, as we're about to see.
And if you skipped any, then they're going to be added to the list. So it's in your interest to kill as much as you can on the way in.
We've got a music sting here when you begin this final sequence. And this is actually a play on the theme itself. And this came before
this was
the actual
first version.
Theme.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
But I liked that 4-note opening, and we decided it would be suitable here. But unfortunately, I've heard it about 100 to 200 times because it took me forever to finish the game.
Yeah, this end game sequence is a little bit controversial, because you can't save at all, and you've got to make your way through 7 maps, because 3 of the maps are not on the path back to the ship. The loop maps, and then that map Trimmed and Burning. So you could visit those maps. You wouldn't get any items, though, because Sullivan didn't transport any items there. He only transported items on the path back to the ship, or any path you can take back to the ship. So the idea with that was that if you're seeing new items, you know that you're on a viable path. But yeah, you've got to make your way through 7 maps with all of these enemies firing at you from random areas, because the activations are they're a lot crazier on the end game. Stuff is activated halfway across the map, and if you just hang out for a little while, it ends up finding, they end up walking towards you or finding you or whatever. So it's like you might get to levels that you don't remember as well, um, and you've got all these enemies firing at you, and you're on a time limit, so it's a little stressful to say the least. But um, I don't know. I personally get a big rush out of sort of the gamble that you have to take, right? Um, and the way that the stakes are raised. Like if you're on, one of the earlier levels, you're getting really close to the ship and you get into a sticky situation, it's so much more stressful, but also then so much more satisfying when you get through it. Um, and I kind of believe if you are making smart choices with your spells, this sequence isn't really super difficult. You get plenty of spells on your way back, and plenty of opportunities to use black holes to clear whole rooms out, right? And so it's, the sequence is long, and if you die, it does waste, a good chunk of time. But it's a test of, you've learned all these skills over the course of the game with these different spells, and now's your chance to apply all of that knowledge. So I don't know. I think I personally really like sequences like that. And like Work said, it's inspired largely from Pathways, and for me, a little bit of from that end sequence of Halo 1 when you're trying to escape, you know, the Pillar of Autumn or whatever. So yeah, I don't know. It's a little controversial, but it's a deliberate choice that we made that I think we're sticking behind.
Yeah, and I kind of screwed up that teleporter I took to get to this area. It's kind of split, and depending on which place you stand on, you go to a different area. I could have teleported directly here if I had done it right, and I'm not exactly sure what I did wrong because I feel like I did the same thing I've done a million times, but I guess I don't know exactly what you're supposed to stand on there. But anyway,
Yeah, I had to figure it out. I had to like stop running, drop into a very specific corner, or else I wasn't gonna make it. So music notes. This end game sequence discards the each level's original playlist, and now it's just a mix of the more rhythmic and high energy, if you can call them that, tracks that are in a soundtrack, including Frog Crush, which is the one that most people like. I think most people like that one the best, who've just generally, based on the YouTube video that has Istoria, that's like the most, aside from the very beginning, it's the most played part. But it wasn't even going to be available outside of the Bandcamp purchase. And then I was like, you know what, that's stupid. Let's add it here because it is a pretty swinging piece of music.
yep. Yeah, I'm glad you
Have you guys-
added it.
Have you guys ever gone the other direction on this map?
Oh no, never.
Not where you. I'm not asking you to right now, but that section where you encounter those two transporting compilers, the invisible ones. If you go, all the way to the other side of the map and you come across that section, a bunch of assimilated bobs come out of the dark at you, like 15 of them.
That's awesome.
And yeah, and I enjoy that sequence.
I'll have to try that someday.
Yeah, so all of these endgame monsters are all goal objects. And so what we had to do is they all correspond to a specific goal number. And so Work had a list of what each monster, which goal object number it corresponded to. And I had to refer to that list every time I was placing these enemies. And then their activations are basically end game versions of the goal spawn activations that happened before. So
There's a lot of goals.
yeah, it was a pain in the butt, and that's why if you load up an Astoria map in your version of Wayland, you see, yeah, just a million red goal flags. It's a lot more color coded and coordinated in my version, but yeah. And I think, I mentioned that this was a design decision to make this sequence really challenging. I do think if we do an update, there are a couple sections that I will adjust a little bit, and change up. Maybe in Don't Sweat It, I'm thinking less Super Troopers and maybe one or two less Juggernauts, So um, that is something that I am considering, but I don't think we're going to ever add saves to this end sequence because that would take away from so much of what it is.
Yeah,
Well, and
it's
then
really
if
just not necessary. If you're using your spells, like, I think it's... Some people just don't... I don't know. They're more hesitant to use spells for whatever reason. I think then, yeah, it's really hard, but...
the time limit also psychs people out. It's probably about twice as much time as you really need if you're booking it. And
Yeah,
so
and
I
that's...
think that pressure just makes people feel like it's worse than it is.
Yeah, and that's actually how we picked the time limit. We ran this a bunch of times before we had even implemented kind of a timer. And then we just kind of almost doubled the time, just because we
Yeah, I
knew
think
we
it took
we
about
knew the
20
map.
minutes for each of us, right? Consistently.
Yeah. Hello. I don't know what the hell happened to that guy.
He's flying.
Bye.
It's awesome.
Why didn't that happen when I played?
This is a great chance to do chain burst.
Yeah.
Oh, kind of took an odd path there, but
Yeah, they're tricky.
so I'm not
Yeah,
even
at one
using
point-
all the black holes I could be. So if you're struggling, just use black holes. It'll make it way easier. I guess some people just had trouble navigating, which I kind of understand. If you've only gone through the game one time, then
Yeah.
you might not
Yeah, that's
really
the
remember.
one thing that none of us could, like the no cans thing was to try to grade the difficulty, but that's something that we just couldn't help. Like,
Yeah.
what would it be like if you had never played the game except once?
And I just like to run around these streets clearing things, because first of all, it's really fun, and second, just getting my body count up. It's always good.
A lot of these above ground enemies spawn when you're below ground, and that was an intentional choice to psych you out because you see them on the motion tracker, but you don't exactly know where they are, So
Yeah,
a little
when you're
bit
standing
mean.
on that elevator and you just see it's like aliens. You see all the signals coming in. It looks like they're about to swarm you.
So one note about the landscape, we always have it set to sunset for the ending. Partly because we all like the sunset landscape the best, and also since we're supposed to be on this timer, real-time kind of timer, it wouldn't make sense if it's going to like nighttime and morning and that kind of stuff while we're running through in 20 minutes or whatever. So
I don't know, the AI could be like warping time,
could be, but yeah.
spinning the planet really fast.
There was some discussion early on about having fog appear in the end game sequence, like you were seeing smoke or something, or the four ships, I guess now, started attacking the planet or whatever, just as kind of a way to indicate that you're in the climax of the game, shit's going down. But yeah, it didn't really, there wasn't a way to make it make sense throughout like all of the areas that you're in, and the sunset textures or landscape is just so good, so we nixed that idea.
Really, how often are you going to be paying attention to anything more than 50 feet in front of you here? If you kill those guys who spawned here like way long ago, like I didn't used to do that, and they really like there was another mother of all hunters that would always come get me because he had been there the whole time. So I highly recommend killing those guys when you can. This is probably, for me, it's definitely the hardest part of the end game.
Yeah, I think for me, just upstream in general. And you gotta be real careful about getting out of the way of those MOAs.
Yeah. And you kind of did some work, Windbreaker, to, because this little area, those little steps going down indoors were a really bad bottleneck before.
Yeah.
You couldn't even get in, and then they would come up behind you.
Yeah, so if you kind of go to where the river is, you activate... You're not supposed to go that direction because that's not where the ship is, right? But you do activate a lot more enemies kind of in the whole stretch of the map where the river is. And so then there were also a ton more spawns in here, which you're talking about. Yeah. And so if you did that and then you came here, you were dealing with a big bottleneck here, and then a ton of enemies would come flooding in behind you. And so, yeah, I reduced the number of enemies in this section, I want to say by half maybe, or maybe even more. Because it was relentless right here.
And some of them wouldn't die from one chain burst. So like enough that it was so difficult. I don't think I ever got past that part before you changed it.
Oh wow.
I got so desperate.
This Juggernaut I might delete in an update.
He's like my buddy.
Yeah,
it's not a super fun encounter.
Yeah, it's not.
Like if you use a black hole, you can't even really see it in action because you're hiding, because it's such a small room, and it's so close to the first map that if you die from the explosion or something, that's just extra douchey.
Yeah, I would not miss this guy at all.
Well, goodbye, Juggy.
And a lot of times I use my black hole here, but I don't know. I seem to only have one left at the moment, so I'll just...
You'll get like one right at the exit, won't you? And there are a couple...
Yeah, honestly, I could have used it. There's really no point in hanging on to spells at this point in the game, but if I've only got one left, then I'm just kind of paranoid, I guess.
You only have 60 cans left, so you better be careful.
Yeah. Oh, is that guy new? I don't know. Maybe not.
He's been there for a while, but I don't think he was there in the...
He jumps down pretty quickly.
Okay.
He's easy to miss if he doesn't see you right away.
What? No. This encounter is a little more challenging than I remember. Of course, I'm sure I'm not doing it the right way. I could have probably moved to a more safe location, but oh well. That seems to be all of them. I don't even know why I'm trying to pick anything up at this point, but... And this is just a great place to blow up tons of stuff. It's a lot of fun. Oh, hello. I don't remember that guy being here. What? This is weird. I'm not used to any of this. Okay.
Yeah, those juggernauts, man, they're on you before you realize it.
Yeah, I'm glad that you get a lot more health from your level ups for this part of the game, because I'm getting hit a lot here. But you can tank a lot of hits, so it works out. So I'll just go see what's going on out here. Oh, there's a lot of stuff here. I could have just run to the ship, but I don't know. I'm having more fun.
I think if you go behind it, there's like a really nasty activation back there too.
Yeah, true.
I was like, oh, I can go behind. I won't have to fight anybody. But that was the first time I saw the ship on my first almost successful run, and you can guess what happened to me.
Yeah, so since we're guaranteed that everyone's using a custom HUD playing this scenario, we were actually able to put in this super high resolution image, which most scenarios don't get to do because you're stuck with that chapter screen stuff. So I'm really happy with the way this turned out. And so yeah, we got the good ending here.
How did you get that picture of Istoria? Did you upscale the Terrigen image?
Yeah,
what you did?
So what I had to do for this was I zoomed in. So like the location of the planet and all the stars, that was done with Terrigen. But I didn't want to spend like hours and hours trying to make the planet look super detailed and nice. So that's when I just in-painted the actual planet itself using Stable Diffusion and just told it I wanted kind of a desert planet as viewed from space with some water, and it just kind of created this for me. Using the Terrigen as a reference. But yeah, I had to combine both of those technologies to get something nice looking, because setting up a planet like this in Terrigen would be a lot of work that, I'm just not that familiar with it.
So yeah, the epilogue here kind of gives you some interesting info. Tells you that the Merak never learned the fate of the Yarrow. They only knew it left Astoria to check on other star systems throughout the galaxy. So I don't know if you can read into that for anything. It's kind of an interesting observation. And then one thing that the epilogue does do here is Sentinel's defenses remain raised indefinitely, as it says, and so that kind of limits these spells and contains them to Astoria in the Marathon universe, or at least tries to. So those are a couple interesting things. And then it mentions that a good portion of the Four's fleet was destroyed by Sentinel when they arrive here, and so that kind of is supposed to make it so that this event means something in that broader war, the Four, even though these events take place like I don't know what 45 years before, or 45 years before the end of the war. So it's a couple little tidbits there.
Yep. So once you're done reading this, we have the score at the end, which is also inspired by the Pathways into Darkness ending score. So it's got the body count and the accuracy, but then I wanted to like throw in some Astoria specific stuff as well. So like the number of bodies you talk to, I wanted that to be part of the score. The problem, I might take that out if we do an update, just because what tends to happen as you're playing the game normally is you'll talk to a body, you'll spend a bunch of time talking to it, and then you might die before you save after doing that, and then you're not going to want to talk to it again, right? Because there'd be no point. So a lot of the bodies talked to is underreported in this screen, just depending on how much you died. So it's kind of unfair to include that as your actual in part of your end game score. So I might remove that. But it's nice. It's nice to know. Like it's nice to see that information. Um, yeah, and how much I used my class ability. Which when I'm doing rifleman, I don't use it a ton. I tend to focus on grouping things up for lightnings, or if I'm sniping something with my submachine gun. And then yeah, we wanted the spell kills to be part of the score because we really want to encourage people to use spells. I think that's what makes the game fun. Over other scenarios, it's kind of the new thing that sets it apart, I guess. So yeah, the more you use your spells, the better your score. And just in general, how much you kill. So like when I ran around the streets of Central Command killing stuff, I didn't actually have to do that, but you'll notice I would have gotten one fewer point if I didn't do that. So it just kind of encourages you to actually go everywhere and kill everything, because some of the levels you could skip half of them. Trimmed and Burning comes to mind as one you could skip a lot. So yeah, it's just you can do it, but you'll get a better score if you explore everything, do everything. And then I just kind of wanted to be a dick here and give you a penalty if you used a bunch of cans. So that was
I was
fun.
glad about that. I'm also sad that there's no way you can get kills with health cans or ammo selectors.
Yeah, if there was another hotkey, I'd make it so you could like throw your health can or something.
So the difficulty is worth noting. Total Carnage is the highest, like traditional difficulty, and then maybe once we're off this screen, you can show that anyone who doesn't know, there's a way to sort of add an extra layer of difficulty that affects your health can efficiency, right?
Yeah.
And what I think is really cool about that is it's not actually a difficulty like further like in preferences. And so if you feel like normal or kindergarten or whatever is more your speed, but you'd like to have like a slightly edgier experience, you can layer what do they call it? Extreme mode and insane mode.
Hard and extreme, I think.
Hard and extreme. You can layer one of those onto whatever actual difficulty you're playing, and so you actually get a fair number of combinations of different gameplay experiences that way. On top of picking a different class, going different routes, so there's a lot you can replay here.
Yeah, for sure.
Irons, what's your top score?
I
Do you
don't
remember
remember.
it
The
like
problem is that
193?
I've played it before the official release a lot, and so it could be that it was easier to get a higher score. I'm pretty sure I had uh I want to say like 204 one time. Um but and then of course I also stopped talking to a lot of bodies when I was just trying to make the end game work for me in no cans. So taking all that into account, like I think my highest one after the release, or like after we froze everything and just play tested and didn't make any more changes, was like I want to say like 194,
Gotcha.
97. I don't know.
Yeah, I remember definitely seeing something like like 194, 193, something like that. I don't know if I ever saw the 200 score.
Yeah, and you know what I might also be doing is for the a lot of games where I made it all the way through, I did not pick extreme mode because it didn't matter because I wasn't using any health cans, and so it didn't add the extra. So it also adds to your score if you
Right.
pick one of those other layers of difficulty. So I was missing like 10 or 20 points. So maybe I'm adding retroactively. Like
Mm,
technically, I didn't earn that, but I did because I never used health cans, so it didn't matter.
right. Yeah, I think it's 10. If you played on Total Carnage, the extreme mode would give you an extra 10 points.
Okay.
But like if you
Yeah.
play on normal and then extreme, I forget what formula I used, but it doesn't add 10. It kind of scales how much it adds based on your starting difficulty.
But yeah, so I think mid 190s, and again, that was like I didn't find everything or talk to all the bodies, so. But
Yeah.
there are people who are going to do way way better than that, I'm sure.
I want to say 191 is the current highest score from someone else who's played it, right? And that was Sharky because he did no cans except
All but one
he
can.
yeah he failed at the very end,
And you
unfortunately.
don't get penalized for that one. It's
Yeah.
like up to the
Yeah.
5, right?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
have to use 5 before you start getting a penalty.
Yeah. So that's a nice little way to not just totally like ruins, like because it's also I've accidentally used a health can and I've been like, well, got to start over.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think if you're playing extreme mode, since it only heals a third of your health, you actually get to use 15 before there's a
Oh, that's right.
penalty. So it kind of works out. All right, we're done with the end screen here.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good.
So yeah, I guess just to show what we're talking about with hard mode and extreme mode, if if you do the level select when you begin your new game, that's what these two things are. So if I were to pick extreme mode, it starts the game normally.
Double starts it.
Yeah, you kind of get a double loading screen, which,
Yeah, it's not that bad though. Then the reason that is because we had to have a way to mark that, like to have the Lua detect that you were doing that, and the easiest way was to like have a level where if you're ever on it, right, it knows that in that mode, and then it just immediately brings you to the beginning of the game.
Yeah, what I actually really wanted to do with hard and extreme mode was make it so that you couldn't actually select them until you've beaten the game once.
Yeah.
But in order to do that, it requires some stuff that LF1 doesn't support, like persisting state across games or
And that was
different
one of the
playthroughs.
first, I think, like maybe before I ever started scripting doing the Lua for music, one of the things that I wanted to do for the music was I knew, so there's a track that I don't know if Work ever heard, but because he didn't die that much, he didn't load the game that much. But there's one that's like there's a fairly small chance that it will play whenever the game loads, and usually that's because you've died. And so it usually works out that it's like a sort of encouragement music for if you've died a lot to sort of just change up the sound. But what I really wanted was it would only play if you died, but it's impossible. Again, it's that between games persistence, like between not just levels and stuff, but like sessions of the game. You can't persist anything, and so I worked on a way to do it. I figured it out, but it can only be done with Lua or with a solo Lua script, and so something like that. I think I might have also been trying it for the reason you're talking about, Work, to see if we could detect a successful game.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah,
it
it's
just
too
never
bad.
worked.
There's some cool stuff you could do, but it works out.
Yeah,
I
also,
mean, most people aren't gonna probably stumble on this the first time. I mainly didn't want it to be built into like Total Carnage because people are always jump into Total Carnage like right away. Some people just do that. Um,
yeah,
but I didn't. I really didn't want people to think that, oh, if this is the hardest, I need to start the game with this because you'll just hate the game if you do that.
yeah,
These are only for people that have already gone through it and they know what they're in for.
yeah. Because it's already pretty tough on Total Carnage. I think a lot of people now, there have been games released in the past where I think it was pretty clear that, I can't, maybe like, I don't even know what I'm thinking of, Rubicon or something, one of the originals, like, or originals, one of the old ones, but where it's pretty clear that whoever made it never played it on Total Carnage. uh, and I don't think Astoria is like that, but it is very challenging because it is such a new experience.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think
Well,
we got a good middle ground of burying this, but making it available in some understandable way. And then we never really talked about survival, but we threw in a bunch of survival maps, and these are just pre-existing net maps we had.
Stair Fortress.
Yeah, that's
We can chat
my.
about it while you're playing.
Oh yeah, should
You want?
I
Yeah,
fire up some survival here?
yeah. So this is totally new, right? Like, there's survival co-op, isn't there? Like, that's pretty old, but this game mode is brand new, isn't it?
Um,
Am I just totally wrong?
yes. I mean,
Okay.
I wrote my own version of survival. Like other people have written survivals, but this one required. Basically, I didn't want to put any more work on Windbreaker's plate with mapping, so it just basically takes existing maps as is and makes it work. And then, obviously incorporates the spells into it as well.
I saw an untextured side on that platform.
That's probably true. I am not the best mapper, so.
Sad.
I don't know, man. This level is near and dear to my heart.
How old is this map?
It's gotta be 2006 or 7.
Okay.
Yeah, someday I'll look through my archive. I have versions 1.0 through 1.4, and then you started putting it in a pack. It used to just be its own map forever.
Yeah, I kind of
But,
cheated and retextured this with Sunset just because I really wanted to use Sunset.
So survival also levels you up. Like, you start with a higher level than 1, don't you?
Yeah.
It levels you up faster.
Yep. I wanted the progression to be pretty quick here, so both your weapon levels and player levels go significantly faster. And then there's no cap to how many spells you can pick up. So you can just load up on all sorts of stuff.
And I think we never talked about the level. Like, there's no actual player level cap in the normal game, correct?
That's true, yeah.
It's just the number of monsters, really. Is like, and so if a monster dies at all, you get experience. You don't have to kill it yourself. So it's really just the number of monsters in the whole game that limits that. But here, there is no limit on the monsters. So if you survive long enough, I would love to see someone who's like, their power, their active ability recharges in like half a second or something.
Yeah, I think there might actually be some sort of cap on how
Well, I
short the
remember-
cooldown gets.
I do remember that I think you mentioned if you use a lot of black holes or just if like a certain amount of time elapses, you start to get flame eads spawning
Oh
in.
yeah.
And when those spawn in, if you don't see where it is, and this is one of the things that made the rooms where they appear in the original game kind of tricky. If you're not looking right at them, they're just gonna kill you right away,
Yeah.
So in this game type, if a flamey spawns, you're pretty much probably dead right then.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, I guess what you're referring to is basically the more stuff that it has to replace. So I just killed a whole bunch of stuff there. So the next, like, I think every 15 seconds it's checking to see how many monsters are on the map and therefore how many do I need to replace. And it gives every monster a weight. So if you just killed a whole bunch of stuff, it's going to need to replace a lot, and that's when you're more likely to get a flame yad because you suddenly have room for the huge weight that it's given. Whereas if you're just killing things little by little, it's not going to be able to, fit. The weight of that flame yad won't fit into the available space. If that makes any sense. I don't know if I'm making any sense or not, but
Yeah, so there's only, there's a certain number of slots that each monster takes up, and you will not reach it if you kill small enough chunks at a time, basically,
Yeah.
right?
yeah.
Yeah, this is pretty fun. And this also has a survival exclusive track called Terminal. That's one of the few tracks that has acoustic recordings. There's one where I'm doing a sort of weird whistling thing. There's one with some very small vocalizations. Pull of Many Moons. Used to have more, but I cut those out. And then I think, and then there's like, I can't remember. Insect Sleep maybe has some toy xylophone in it, and then harmonica in Terminal. I think Windbreaker, you were like, I don't know if I'm crazy about this really annoying MIDI trumpet you have in here. And I was like, that's literally the only like real instrument.
Yeah, I remember that. This track did grow on me though as I was testing Survival, so for what it's worth.
Oh, good.
Or I don't know if it's
like
the one that's playing right now, but the one you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, right now I'm getting the big battle music or whatever.
Yeah.
Which probably also plays a lot.
I think it'll play. I guess it can play semi-consecutively, but there's like a guaranteed wait between like the special trigger ones. And I think maybe in Survival it actually just randomizes it and doesn't care about the conditions. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I've never actually lived this long before in a survival game. Let's see. Suppose I should be using up some of these.
Yeah, you're starting to get the big boys.
But yeah, so I really wanted survival to exist simply because I knew that after making all these spells, I just would want to run around spamming them.
It's a good way to practice, right? Like if you haven't gotten used to them, or if you want to try them before you can ever get them in the game, you're gonna get them here. Like Black Hole, right? You don't get that until Don't Sweat It, which is level 8.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm just running around throwing lightnings around, and it's just not something you can do in the normal game because we have to actually balance it. But here we don't have to worry about it. Just do whatever's fun.
I think that Juggernaut's having a hard time.
Yeah. Yeah, this map wasn't made with Juggernauts in mind.
Oh, and you're a timekeeper. Have you even used that yet?
Oh yeah, that's a good. I actually never remember to use my abilities in survival. I don't know why. I just got too much else going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, Timekeeper definitely helps in this mode for sure.
Yeah, so it's another easy way to try out different classes and stuff in like a variety of situations. It's cool. Like I didn't think I was really gonna. I mean, I haven't played it a whole lot, but it was something that it was fun to test. Like especially when I was sick of dying in a normal scenario.
Oh, you're down to 1 health game.
He's about to level up though. It's like a no-can strategy. So he did, and now he's it's halfway gone. Nice.
Oh, I actually have 2 of these guys.
I'm pretty sure I just saw your like experience meter go more than half the whole thing. Just one of those black holes.
See, I don't even want to look. What is my current level?
13, I think.
Okay. So yeah,
Yeah, you have a shit ton of laser. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, you've got over a minute's worth of laser.
get people thoroughly sick of the sound.
That was like a big concern. And also that was like a very strange operating system difference or something, right?
Yeah, so I think on Linux I'm getting more of a, or less of a delay than I do on Windows. So it's kind of, I don't know, the laser that you're hearing in me when I'm playing is might be different from what you guys hear.
Yeah, it is.
And yeah, I don't really
It's
know how to
slower.
explain that. It's not even a 0 restart delay thing because I have that turned off. It's just
But
some difference with how.
and like you couldn't record it either, right? Like you'd be like, "Hey, listen to this," and we couldn't tell or something. I can't remember. It was really weird, and we were kind of worried that it would be super annoying. So you did change the sound pretty
Oh.
late. Uh-oh.
And I'm out of black holes.
Don't forget you're a timekeeper.
Oh yeah. Let's see. I
Will
don't
it
know.
stop the? Well, it's too late now, probably. But does it stop the flames?
I don't think so. It. Well, I don't. Yeah, they're not actual projectiles, so. All right.
Damn.
But for
Nice.
10 minutes, that's way more than I've ever survived
Yeah.
before.
There you go.
That's a pretty high score. I'd like to see Admin beat that score. He's really into solo survival.
Oh, that's true. He's got to try this out.
I'd also be interested to see if Admin could break some of the records for highest score of Istoria itself.
That's
I don't
true.
know.
He
We'll see.
he hasn't proven himself yet with this game. He more than proved himself with Huge, but
Yeah.
Exactly. I have faith in him, though.
and this actually we're getting a nice close-up of a texture I made by hand here. This was not AI or anything. It was like from before Windbreaker even started mapping for this project. I had just thrown a few textures together in GIMP or something so I could have something interesting to work with when I was making my prototype map.
Yeah, I think I used this texture maybe like 3 times in the whole game.
Yeah.
But it's a good one. I should have used
Looks
it
like
more.
an upstream kind of texture.
Oh, nice. I leveled up, even though my score isn't going up.
Yeah, so man, I've had some really shitty because you can level up again like it's happening here after you're dead, and I'm pretty sure at some point it used to give you full health when you did that, and so like I'd just be like, "Man, come on."
That's kind of
Plug me
funny.
in. Um yeah, so I think that's pretty much everything.
Yeah, I think we covered what I wanted to cover, so thanks a lot, guys, for helping me out with this. I think it worked out really well with us all being on together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind
It
of funny. This is
was,
the first time I talked to either of you over voice chat was to do this. So we developed this whole scenario just by typing a crap load of text.
Yep.
like I said, well, I don't
Not
know
as
if
much
that
as
got
Aaron, though. Shots fired. Sorry.
I don't know if it got into the recording or not, but I might have mentioned
Oh, I'm
what
still
I know.
recording, actually.
Oh, yeah, no, that's fine.
Okay.
No, I meant like because we kind of had a snafu when we did the first episode of this. I can't remember if what I said ended up on the snafu or the real one, but I refused to not use IRC for a while. So like it was just work in me or work in everybody else. So working with Windbreaker and then Ryoko giving feedback, for example. So yeah, and then of course work and I legendarily spoke exactly one time before this, or he spoke. When was that? That was probably 2008. If I had to guess.
Yeah, I think so. Well, we were like testing to see if we wanted to do a juice cast or something. Is that what?
Yeah, you
what
were
it
going to be a
was?
guest on Juicecast, so we were trying Skype, I think.
Yeah, and I thoroughly ruined that whole thing by.
Well, it didn't work anyway. I would have been fine with what you, how you how it went down, but the technology just didn't work out.
All right. Yeah, because I joined with an inside joke that I don't know if it really played well. It was kind of funny, but
Oh, I thought it was funny, and it was
Okay.
just me. HR wasn't there or anything. We were just like seeing if it was going to work, but yeah, it's been really fun. Work and I have worked together on a lot of projects over the years of varying depth, and Windbreaker kind of relative newcomer to Clique. You still believe in that myth, but it's been fun getting to know Windbreaker a bit better too. Because you were like what 12 or 15 when the real action was going on way back in the day.
Oh yeah, I was like 12 when I was making those first maps. First net maps I released called under a pack called Sovereignty. Yeah,
Yeah, so
I
that's
was
crazy
a
to think
young
about.
lad.
Yeah.
One last thing I want to mention is just how useful Terrigen was because we used it here on the main menu too, and we got to feature that mountain landscape, or yeah, that mountain that you see in the landscapes, but you see it in a different setting here, and that was one of the things that made Terrigen just really useful.
Kind of
Yeah.
shamefully, we didn't have a title screen until well in.
Yeah, we definitely did that wrong. We're supposed to just announce the project with the title screen and then not talk about it ever again. We
That's why like you didn't hear about this scenario for so long. Um, we kind of just unveiled it with the trailer after most of it was made. The real reason for that was just because we didn't have a title screen. That was the only reason.
Yeah. And then I liked what you did, uh, like a week, was it, before the release? You like were taking small snippets of the title screen and posting them.
yeah, I forget why I had that idea, but
It was just silly.
yeah, I mean, we wanted to say something about it before release just to get it on people's radar again. Because, a lot of people releasing scenarios will post screenshots or, build up hype in various ways, and we really weren't doing that at all. So it's like a few days before release, it felt like we should do something, but I didn't want to like spoil anything. So that's why I was just like, I'll crop out like a tiny bit of the menu screen and
If you would, real quick, show the credits because we had a lot of help other than like direct stuff going on. Um, that's all. That's us. And yeah, so testing and feedback. Um, those guys helped a lot. I don't know if we want to say who's who exactly. And there's only one like real name there, but he requested that we do that. But thanks Ryoko, thanks Legacy Typhoon, thanks Todd, and thanks Admin One of Any Effects, of course, and Eddie Dingle. Uh, conditionally thanking you as long as we get a painting.
yeah, I don't know that we ever explicitly said it, but the guy Ed Grindle with his amazing glasses, that's Eddie Dingle, right?
Yeah, he lent his likeness to this game for us, so thank you.
Yes. Thanks to
And
Eddie.
yeah, Tree Llama and all those guys, whatever.
Yeah, and this is also Terragen came in handy for these credit screens as well.
All right, well, I think that covers it. Thanks, everyone.
Yep.
Thank you to Wind and Work. It's been fun.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Yep. Thanks for
Enjoy the
watching.
game, everybody.